When a dispute occurs between an employer and one or more employees, we usually call that industrial action. What are the forms that can take? Well, first thing to realize is that we don't necessarily need to know. This is not part of our course per se. Okay, this is just background information, that's things you can talk about. But if a conflict or dispute can't be resolved, then what often happens is industrial action is taken. And these are the different types. So we'll look at what they are and who would take it, like who would initiate it. So if we start with the first one, passive resistance, what is that? That is when there's a general lack of cooperation by employees to complete tasks, or maybe they take days off and they're absent. So that is initiated by employees. Work to rule. That is when workers refuse to do anything more than the bare minimum required and follow every rule to the letter. So they won't use any initiative beyond just to get the job done, kind of to prove a point to their employer. So that is also initiated by employees. A boycott, there's a murky one because technically boycotts and secondary boycotts are illegal, but that is where employers refuse to do something or deal specifically with someone. E.g., they won't deal with a specific supplier because maybe the union employees in that supplier aren't happy, but that's a murky one, but that does happen. A stop work meeting. The employees hold a meeting during normal work hours, not a strike, it's just to discuss an issue, but production ceases during that period. And that's also initiated by employees. A picket line. So we don't see these much anymore, but once upon a time we'd see really sort of almost violent scenes of picket lines where employees demonstrate outside the premises to stop production. And what they're trying to do is stop other employees and suppliers going into that business or crossing the picket line. And that's initiated by employees. Or a strike. So we've seen examples of those. Employees withdraw their labour and production ceases. What about the employer? What can they do if they're not happy with the employees? Well, the main form is what's called a lockout. That's where the employer or management simply does not allow workers to enter a plant or building to perform their work. So they're the forms that industrial action can take. We don't need to know those. You won't get asked about those. They're just background things so you can talk about case studies and so forth.